For all but 6 of the last 65 years, Japan has been led by the same political party, the LDP, and this weekend's election looks certain to be won by them again. And yet the LDP is not especially popular, and it's been led by a succession of rather unremarkable and uncharismatic men. So what explains its tremendous success? Well, partly it starts here in the Japanese countryside. This town of 5,000 people is an LDP stronghold. Most residents here are old, and old people vote. We met this couple on their way to cast their ballot. That's right, for the LDP.
野党の場合は外交、それから防衛、そういうものが全然ごちゃごちゃです。
私も主人と同じです。
So part of the reason the LDP does so well in places like this is that it's always made sure that the taxpayer money keeps flowing into places in the countryside, particularly to build infrastructure. Now, this place has a perfectly good road on the other side of the valley, but a few years ago they decided they needed another one, and for that they needed to build this tunnel. You see stuff like this all over rural Japan, fantastic infrastructure of questionable economic benefit, but one that certainly brings jobs and votes in rural areas. So what about Japan's opposition parties? On a Tokyo street corner, a candidate for the Communist Party is trying to drum up support. There are at least 9 opposition parties in Japan, and it's one reason they do so badly. This is one of the very few ways that opposition parties in Japan have of getting their message out to potential voters, because door-to-door campaigning in Japan is not allowed. And that gives the incumbent party a tremendous advantage, because their leaders are on the television news every night. We asked some young voters if they recognise the leader of Japan's biggest opposition party.
Once or twice I know his face, but I don't remember his name, so...
Are you interested in the election? Are you going to bother voting?
Actually, no.
So young urbanites don't vote and don't know who to vote for. But even if they did, their vote would count a lot less than if they lived in the countryside. Today, the vast majority of Japanese voters live in big cities like this one. But the voting districts have not been modernised to reflect this huge shift of population from the rural to the urban. And in very simplistic terms, that means today you need a lot more votes to get elected in an urban constituency than you do in a rural one. All of this is good news for Prime Minister Kishida, who can rely on MPs from rural strongholds to keep him in power.